I have the same problem.
Yeah. Okay. So, agenda, work on videos, um, and antitrust policy. We all know that. Here is the working folder, and I just quickly did the so maybe I'll read out the script. I was just tweaking again the script this morning. I talked over it with Drummond and with Marcus Sabadello. Well, talked over a bunch of stuff with Marcus to confirm, and then Drummond and Nico for some details. But then I still saw some things I didn't like. I'll
So
share my.
which script, I'm looking at the folder. Which script are you talking specifically
Yeah,
on?
so I just started control of did document data. So I talked with Marcus and confirmed that yes, indeed, um, there is nothing in the did method. Hello, Scott. There's nothing in the did method for verifying the veracity of the did document data.
Hmm.
So just as a I'll put that link in. So there's our channel, Bite Size Trust. Well, we're the only one using the hashtag, so we're the only videos in here until so our most viewed video is resolving a did document with 795 views. And did document duplicity is there with 676. Nico was like, "Oh, you've got good viewership," but I'm like, I have no idea who these people are. And there's 700 people interested in did document resolution. Maybe they were looking for something else. Anyway, I was approached by the Linux Foundation. Um, so the decentralized trust director, Daniela, saw some of the videos and then she shared it with the education arm of Linux Foundation. And they need to rework the video formats to fit their education thing. So I gave them AI generated summaries with, I guess, human. I checked them. AI generated summaries with my review of the topics of each of these, and then I guess they're gonna put that on the education channel somewhere. So yeah, that's interesting. And yeah. So then if I put up in the Google Drive, so maybe we'll just take one moment because I to go over this video, and then Nico was wanting to know about any governance videos that we were doing. And I have one more meeting with Stephen Curran for technical checks. So here I will share the screen because it has the slides. And that I just put up in the Google Drive. So here we go. When you resolve, when you resolve a decentralized identifier or did, you get back a did document. That document lists public keys, service endpoints, and other metadata. But here's a key question. Who's allowed to update it? The answer depends on the did method because the did core spec defines what goes in a did document, but it does not define how updates to did documents are authorized, signed, or recorded. Some methods, like did web or did peer, include a controller field right in the did document, but updates depend on the host infrastructure to ensure that verified changes to the did document. Okay, wait, sorry. I need to add a but. But updates depend on the host infrastructure to ensure verified changes to did document data, and these changes are trusted to be correct. Because that was a big problem with did web is that um, I don't even think you can see a history of the document. I'm not sure about that, but there's no signatures. Even though they might use a controller ID, they don't have to prove that they depended on the authorization keys within that did document. That was the whole point of did WebS and did VH. So anyway, so there we go. Okay. Other methods anchor changes to blockchains or distributed ledgers. Did Indy, for example, records did operations on a ledger. Anyone with access can check the ledger history to see whether an update came from an authorized key. I think Indy is key-based, but I'm not sure. But probably, but I don't think the key is recorded in the did document itself. It's part of the ledger infrastructure. There are also content-addressed approaches. With did IPFS, the did points to the hash of the document. If the document changes, the hash won't match, making tampering obvious. Did BDCR, that's the Bitcoin one, updates to Bitcoin transactions where the chain itself provides the proof. Because it's the address. Some methods go even further. Did ion. Do you know did ion very well, Neil? I
No.
don't. I need to check that. Okay. So did ion, did WebVH, and did WebS keep tamper evident logs of all operations which can be checked for legitimacy. So if there's, yeah, did WebVH and did WebS. Sam came up with a whole bunch of great ideas and did WebS and did WebVH. Wanted to simplify Sam, so they came out with did WebVH, but reused a whole bunch of the technologies that were in there, such as the logging and the watch or witness network and stuff. And that's why, and then did ion I need to get more familiar with. So then we have finally static methods like did key or did JSON web key, JWK, I think. I did key or did JWK don't allow updates at all. The did, the public key, and the derived did document are locked together forever. The bottom line, and then I need a slide for the last thing. The bottom line, you could just trust a did document, but to be sure updates are legitimate, you should also verify the cryptographic evidence each did method provides, whether that's a signature, a blockchain record, a hash commitment, or a witness log. Some did methods make this available, but some do not. That's why choosing the right did method matters. It determines not only how your identity is managed, but also how others can trust that it hasn't been tampered with. That's the video.
So what I take away from that is you can tell if someone's tampered, but you can't tell in some cases if the original was actually done by an authorized key holder.
Well, so internal consistency one can go for with the key holder being recorded in like a skid. Because the original one, you can bind the key to the identifier in the first record, and that's a did skid. And then from that, did WebVH and did WebS, for example, let you build a whole cryptographically tied evidence story for every update after that. And some of them are crap, like WebEd, like did web. And then did peer is just I just trust that you're going to send me your latest key because we have a relationship and there's no outside observers. It's just you and me writing to each other. Hey, I updated my key. Okay, thanks.
Sounds to me like a lot of developers trying to get something functional, but not being paranoid.
Yeah. Did web, I think, was getting a whole bunch of stuff functional without being paranoid.
So it leaves me to the ongoing issue that because there is no consensus around did methods yet, it's still fluctuating.
Yeah.
That's going to hold us back. It's just going to hold us back.
Yeah.
Because, there's, you need, people want a consistent method to do it. And,
Yep.
your work just highlights that actually. I mean, it should be,
Well,
why did, it's like, why do you have to come up with a new way of doing things? In some way, shape, or form, it does inhibit
yeah.
interoperability. Now,
But
you've
all the did
outlined how it
methods,
wouldn't, but it does, though.
all the did methods do produce the same did document. So that is now the standardization. But they're all really different on how verifiable the information is that got you to the DID document.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Well,
maybe I should add something in there again about all these methods. Yeah, maybe I should add that statement right now. Reiterating again that DID produces a common, because you can't look at the DID document to verify it. The verification is external. And that's not, that the DID document is standardized, but the external method, there are no standards around it. Okay. So I'm gonna, that's a slide I can reuse from another, oh shoot, was I sharing the screen?
yes,
Can you still see my screen?
yes,
Oh, normally I get a little box around it. You saw the slides and not the script?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go back into completed. Yeah. Um, yeah. So okay, actually, so I'll add that. It's easier for me to add it locally than it is to do it on the upload version. So I will go and add that little bit. Because like Scott Perry points out that slow yeah, I'm pointing out the messy, because anytime, as soon as you started looking into DIDs, you immediately came up with all the problems identified here. But that was just all hidden by the techie, like are hidden behind a wall of technical proficiency that you needed to have before you could access it.
Well,
So
it's all, it's the old story is we want to push our did because we want to lock people in. It's the old, well, someone emerges as the 800-pound gorilla, but we're really not getting that because the better methods like, the full-blown carry is non-trivial for people to wrap their heads around.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, but that is a problem.
Okay. Yeah, because Carrie needs Carrie needs somebody to do a much better job of no, Sam talks, Sam explains it very well to the audience that is capable of understanding Sam. But the next step, there's not a lot of, yeah. So what we can do now is I can read, I don't have slides yet for the next one, but it's been valuable for me to read it, or Scott, we could look at a governance, the start of a governance script. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. So I did start thinking about governance in the context of setting the rules for games.
Yeah, I like
And
that analogy.
and I was starting I think, I think the process is set up the process, have a one that just says here are the how the process works. And then here's how governance works within setting up rules for games.
Yep.
And then I can, we can talk about how that applies in an IT ecosystem framework. So I need to do it. My, the amount of so obviously,
Yeah.
and you deal with it as well. It's around using time. So there's certain things I've been focused on right now
Yep.
to deal with things, and I but I may have more time available to me, depending on how this week goes. This week,
Now,
it's gonna be an interesting week, so.
the other thing, Scott, and I agree. I mean, you don't have I have I have the I have bits and pieces of time for this because I need to research DIDs anyway in order to do proposals for grants and stuff like that. So I need to know it so I can, and that's how what's driving me.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and so I'm going to I have to create a 5 slide, maybe max, presentation. I'm speaking for 10 minutes
yeah.
down in the state endorsed digital identity summit in Salt Lake City area. So I have to do that this week because
Still.
I'm going, a couple in a couple of weeks. But it's the first time it's the first time in my career that someone's paying me to go. So that's good.
Okay,
So
nice.
so that's encouraging, so that's very good news.
Yeah, and then, well, when you come back, maybe you'll have a feeling of what people are looking for, what the gaps
Yeah,
are. The other thing I
yeah.
could do is I could take a stab at it, but no, I
No,
think cool
I'll
stuff here.
I'll be good. Let me drive it and then give you and let you be the person that would edit it because you know how it sounds and the
Yeah,
size and how details you want to get. So
and Scott, I do when I write them, I do the point form of how I expect the flow, what points I want to make. And then I put it into ChatGPT to give me the first draft, and then I go back and refine from there. And that
okay.
because
Well, if you have any if you have any cheat sheets that you want to make available to me,
yeah, I just say right, yeah, I'll write out a bit of my some very I always kind of use the same prompt and I'll write that out. Because I do it to be faster,
right?
and then it's easier to edit than to come up with something totally new. So I
Oh,
apps.
one thing I just want to flag, I've been using ChatGPT very heavily for the project I'm working on for hospitality and travel. And my conversations get very long because the data structures we're trying to do are pretty complicated. ChatGPT loses its mind if your conversations get too long. So what you
Yeah.
constantly have to do is capture the stuff, park it on the side, you know, clear, delete all your current sessions, put the parts back in, such as, the prompts, etc. Put the pieces back in for it to read to start your new session. Because I've been finding when it's good, but when it starts to wander, it's awful. And things like wait times are taking a long time. It's like, my machine's got lots of memory, but it gets confused because apparently it's constantly rereading the entire conversation and reprocessing it. So,
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
so what you want to do is, take. I literally screen scrape, drop it into a Word document so it's human readable to me later, and it has no problem reading the Word document. Markdown, it tends to mess up, so I'm not too keen on that. But just as to make sure that you've got it focused in terms of exactly what you're trying to get done.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, because I see it. It is pulling older things in my conversation back out, and it's being biased. So as I'm asking these other questions, and then it's writing. Yeah. Anyway.
It
So like
it's
I do some
it
variation of that. I'd put in the chat the kinds of prompting that I do to generate the first draft of the script. And then sometimes it's too short and I'll ask it to expand it because it's being too punchy. Um,
Well, one of the things I think you could do, and this goes back, a few IIWs, but I think there's still a very prevalent attitude in the tech industry, is that, oh, we have executable governance. No, you don't you have a configuration file.
right.
You got a set of parameters, but and I think one thing that would be worth looking at is, ChatGPT, tell me For all the major frauds and scams on Bitcoin, how many of those were directly a result of people circumventing whatever governance, whether it was automated or human driven? And
Ah,
I believe the answer will be 100%. It's people working, uh, doing things that humans do in terms of abusing the technology to do what they want,
hmm.
either due to
Oh,
lack of governance at the people level or executable governance that really didn't do any governance.
I read a Number Go Up. That was an interesting book. And then another one about Ethereum. Okay, so we were going to have today be a bit of a shorter meeting so that we could continue on with our days. So maybe I'll read one more script. I found it very helpful to have you as an audience for this. So this is a shorter one, and I don't have any slides for it yet. Passwords and keys. How do you prove who you are online? Most of us still use passwords. You pick a username, then a secret word, let's say poodles forever, and the site stores it. Every time you log in, you send that secret again. The problem? You're broadcasting your secret over the internet, and if it's leaked or intercepted, your identity can be stolen. Now, here's a better way. Keys. Instead of a password, you make a private key and a public key. You give the site your public key. Sure, anyone can see it, but your private key never leaves your device. When you log in, you sign a challenge with your private key. The site checks your signature with your public key, and that's it. You're in. That's how FIDO passkeys work. And then there's the next step, decentralized identifiers or DIDs. Instead of handing over a key, you give a DID. The site resolves it to the associated DID document, and that contains your public key, specifically a public authentication key associated with that DID. Even better, the site can give you its DID, so you can check them too, protecting you from phishing. Passwords have well-known limitation. Keys and DIDs are ways to improve the future of trust online.
The only thing I could think you could add to that would be
Yeah.
you need to rotate your keys.
Yes, yeah. Okay. I could add even
Just
the
so
better, the site could give you its did so you could check them, protecting you from phishing. Even better, dids allow you to, not all dids though, but
oh,
many dids.
the better dids.
Yeah.
The more
Allow
robust
you.
dids allow you to rotate your keys because it's just like a key, and the analogy is the same as a key in a door. I change my, if you're not changing the door locks on your home, then you're leaving yourself open to.
I don't do that very often, but the just like changing your password, but with better security. Even
Yeah,
better, many did methods allow you to rotate keys, just like changing your password, but with better security.
good.
Okay. Passwords have no well-known limitations. Keys and DIDs are ways to improve the future of trust online. Yeah. I
And
had
the
a, yeah.
and the other thing is you're now getting keyword managers. Well, I'm thinking 1Password, which now fully support keys,
Oh, yeah.
passkeys.
Which manager is supporting passkeys?
One password.
1Password. Okay. I bought my
And,
I bought my hardware keys to give that a try. I'm not sure if I like it yet.
no,
Seeing as
I
I
try.
can't get Discord to identify a passkey.
Well, yeah, no, that the one thing I think even the whole passkey industry admits is that the user interface for you to set one up without something like a 1Password uh,
Yeah,
application is just, we'll handle that for you. You point
yeah.
us to the site and we'll see what kind of passkey they're supporting and we'll figure it out for you. I actually haven't used it yet, but I'm certainly going to in the not too distant future.
Okay.
Because I find I use that's a pretty good app for that kind of stuff. It does a pretty good job of managing across
Yeah,
devices.
yeah. Okay. And then okay, well, because I am working on these scripts and the videos, because I do want to publish these before it'd be great to publish them sometime in October before the event, before the symposium.
Cool.
I had an interesting conversation with Marcus about because keys and DIDs, we've got authentication keys, that's straightforward. Assertion keys, also straightforward. Key agreement keys, okay, for establishing a communication channel, and I can talk about that. And then I got to capability delegation and capability invocation keys, and all of a sudden it went to pot. And I don't think I'm gonna have to ask Stephen Curran because their method automatically lists those keys, but I don't know if he has a use case for them because let me see if I can find Marcus gave me the link for it. It's bizarre. Come on, come on. There's a spec, ZCAP. That is still in draft, and that was what he said the capability authorization and invocation keys were, but I don't want to do a video about something that people aren't actually using, and I don't think anyone's using it. Have you ever seen that? Yeah, yeah. Go for it, Adrian. I mean, you can always unmute and we're a chit-chatty girl.
I,
Yep.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Sorry. Sorry for joining late as well. These were meetings that I think I scheduled it a few days ago, so sorry for that.
No
Um,
problem.
I'm just jumping in from the side. So I've got elections and digital identity effectively in my background, about 20 years on the ground. So I'm not just, I know a little bit, not a lot.
Yep. Yep.
I've been doing a lot of research lately on biological systems and how nature deals with complexity and things and information effectively. What
Mm-hmm.
patterns and how does it make sure that it maintains its important information? And I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot to learn from physics and biology and even chemistry. There's a large intersection in certain patterns and certain shapes that is, for instance, leveraged from a chemical through a biological to potentially a more tangible shape that we can actually then finally see. A long story short, um, we have various digital identity systems and infrastructure in place. Now, in my industry and background, have become intrinsically aware of all the gatekeepers and APKs and little things that your ID system from whichever country is dependent on to function from A to Z. So for instance, if you use a certain app to log in, there's a French company and another company in the background that you also have to effectively go through. Now, you as the human, so I've always served the human, the ultimate client for me. Um, you don't necessarily know. So, in a geopolitically changing world, do you look over these type of timescales, and do you also look at the technological? Well, as we're speaking, that's literally ongoing, and it's all novel attacks. Can our infrastructure, our government, our old ways effectively of infrastructure, is it really resilient against attack? Because any dependence on an outside country, especially a country from a different continent, which might face different types of problems in the future, countries can effectively do a lot of damage by switching off or disabling certain things. So
Yep.
I'm I'm going to make it very tangible. So I worked in a predominantly South African company, and I mean we did massive projects, and you know what you see, it's actually much bigger than that because we're talking about digital identity. I mean I was the project manager for Malawi's national identity project and the elections, so all the biometric voter registration. So I understand how these things change, but Laxton, for instance, they've been acquired, 75% stake, for instance, has been acquired by a Japanese company. So you understand how that power has just shifted effectively from a South African held power, if you want to see it like that. Now, these are lovely, great people, great colleagues. But now 75% sits in Japan. You
Yeah.
understand, and
Yeah,
Laxton
yeah.
is actively busy with ID systems and election systems. So I do think we need to look over time as well. We need to look at the history and how we've made mistakes in the past, because each and everything that we've ever built basically has collapsed at a certain stage. And I think it's important that we learn from that. So Again, I'm coming in from the side. A lot of this might have been discussed already. I know a bit, but mesh
Yeah.
networks and distributed systems that really follow a much more organic approach to basically unlock these basic services for today. The closer we to that, the more resilient I think it ultimately is. Anything that we veer too fast from that, where we look at commercial models over architecture, I think is a fail. I'm very critical of these things, and it comes again from my electoral background because I cannot really have anything but a technical fact-based opinion. So that's mine. I'm not sure if it's useful. And again, I really apologize coming in from the side. I've tried to switch on my video and it seems that that's not working. But anyway, I hope it's useful.
Yeah, so you're getting to the heart of the architectural choices of decentralized systems in the first place, which is huge scope. I think that is certainly for right now, it's outside of bite-sized trust because it's not bite-sized. It's like it's a giant. But what we wanted to do in bite-sized trust, what I have wanted to do is I agree with you about resilient systems and the by adding more distributed opportunities and stuff and not putting all the eggs in one basket, as it were, can have benefits. So within bite-sized trust, it's to try and educate people about some of these technologies so that at least, people can start to learn enough to make choices about implementing them and stuff. But yeah, I mean, what you're talking about there would be like a really nice foundational white paper that goes on for 50 pages and it really lays out the but that's the heart of why we're here. I agree.
So the thing that concerned me, and I'm glad that you say it, I'm not a normal. I usually take a bit of a different approach than a purely academic approach. I've always followed. I want to effectively say a purely hands-on approach. So I've sort of reached very similar and probably exactly the same conclusions like you, but coming effectively right around from a physics and a biology perspective. And I find it fascinating that I don't want to say overlap, but I think there's 100% overlap to the answer to all the questions that we are asking. So I do think it might provide you with just important insights if it was not on the periphery, maybe it is now at least.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah,
Yeah.
it is big, it is bigger things. But I think I'm feeling a bit more nervous when I look at what's happening around the world. And I'm looking at novel technologies, novel AI, novel attacks. And this infrastructure that we're talking about, we keep on talking about it it feels to me in the abstract. But the fact
Yeah.
of the matter is these are critical banking services. This is our
I know.
ID.
Yeah.
This is what we use to vote. And these days, I mean, everything is about that. So this is
Yeah.
literally spheres of power in the world.
Yeah.
So anyway, Godspeed to you.
Yeah.
I'm here, and I'm always available if there's anything. Anyway, uh,
Yeah.
I've just exited effectively a more than 2 decade career, so I would not be typically it would typically not be possible for me to do things like this.
Yeah.
So I used to not engage. I used to obviously be behind the scenes, but
Yeah.
anyway, glad to help and support however I can.
Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah. And well, so in bite-sized trust, I'm also now other places, I think we should have that kind of message and discussion. In bite-sized trust, I'm trying to stick less. I don't want to get into, I want to be like, okay, here's some basic educational features, but and then from there, now when you go and have a discussion about these big picture things, you know what's possible or what to consider because you've educated yourself on the basics or whatever. But yeah, oh God, we could spend the rest of the the day about and we can be upset about whatever things are in the current state of the world, but we're not going to
No, but
not.
I think it's fair game to, stimulate some conversation by pointing out, you know, without a lot of careful,
Yeah,
let's look at elections. Canada's
yeah,
gone to
yeah, yeah.
complete paper with 16 people signing off on each ballot, as opposed to something that's, so I mean, part of this is like one of the things that, we look at delegation to a purchase manager, as a case in point, right? Which is,
Yeah.
okay, they're human, they're an AI. What do you know about the human? Number one, they've been tested and gone through an apprentice system. Number two, there's a paper trail. So unless agents have a logging mechanism that is absolutely guaranteed to, all those transactions are going to be logged. I'm not going to fake out
Yeah,
and only do
yeah,
some.
yeah. Yeah.
Unless you've got those kinds of things in place. No, that's not to say to Adrian's point. Systems get smarter and smarter, and people get, they get an incentive. So that's no guarantee. But if you haven't met those kinds of minimums, what have you really got?
I wonder if I'm not going to write those scripts, but Bite-sized Trust could have a series of scripts about, a topic to consider or topic to think about or something like that. So to frame it in the not a value judgment, but in a here's the bigger picture of one idea to consider. What happens if you lose this? What kind of system would you need in order to regain it or something like that? You know what I mean? So,
Because you're sort of tripping into that now, right? You're looking at dead docs, and as you've looked at it, say, wait a minute, there's
yeah, yeah. So, but I also am deliberately staying way down here with that because I'm like, by the time you've made a decision to investigate did docs, you're already considering things about why do I need it decentralized or distributed in the first place. So I haven't, you're right, I have not, I wonder, let me look at my scripts to see if I am heading there because what I do make an argument for why keys are better than passwords, and that's one of the things that did documents support. And then I go in that in did documents we have authentication, assertion, and agreement, and then these delegation keys and delegation invocation keys. So that is something like uh like I'm gonna butcher that the like OpenID or whatever or OAuth, they're exclusively for authentication and not for assertion support.
well, they do authorization.
Okay, authorization and authentication, but you're not gonna look at your OAuth thing in order to sign a VC about some kind of
No.
membership.
Yes.
Yeah,
So, yeah. So they get very hybrid very quickly. So they use, they're using DIDCOM, they're using DIDs for some of those things because they say we don't have a better solution. So
right, okay,
OpenID for VC is very much a hybrid. That's their current generation.
okay, okay.
But it gave me a thought for you've got bite-sized trust and bite-sized maybe not so trust.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Or
and then
or
because
or
then
or, or, or bite-sized trust gaps. Here's things we need to look at.
yeah, yeah, bite-sized trust counts. And then okay, so then I got keys and dids where I introduce authentication, assertion, and agreement keys. And then I have 3 in-depth scripts for each of those. So authentication keys are the shortest because uh Drummond and Marcus, there's nobody actually using key delegation within DIDs. ACDCs, yes, but not in DIDs itself. Because you can put control. I don't even know how you would do it, but when you list or how if anyone does it, but when you have a key in a DID, you can say that the controller of that key is normally everyone says the controller of the key is within the DID itself. but you can put it as an external controller. So that means that I, as the did owner, am using a public key, which I do not control the private key to. So then I have to go off and, go to somewhere else and say, hey, can you sign this for me on my behalf because I want to use it to authenticate or
Isn't,
assert or something like that.
but isn't that then always a dependency on either a company, a corporation, somebody on another continent? I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think anyone is doing it. And so Drummond and I, when we were going over it, we're just like, no, we'll keep it simple. Authentication is just going to be straight up. Hi, Drummond. Good morning. We're going to have a shorter talk and it's, Adrian wants to write the white paper about, Adrian wants me to write that. No, Adrian points out that more and more people are being drawn as we engage in a culture of global instability, that we are starting to recognize more people are recognizing the risks of infrastructure under any kind of centralized control and the benefits that might come from more decentralized, to which I would also add, yes. And if your government is out to screw you, you're going to get screwed. And I don't care if you've got a key in some other thing, you're going to get picked up in the night and, and you can say, my keys, whatever you want. So, no, you can't dump me in Dachau today. I didn't sign that document.
maybe I can make it really interesting and really tangible. So let's use a quick analogy, but this is maybe just a fun experiment. So if anything happens, so I'm currently in the Netherlands, so part of the NATO alliance, but okay, cool.
Yeah.
Netherlands, something happens. Something goes wrong with the Dutch government. The Dutch government, the civil ID services, voting services, tax systems, and these things gets compromised all the time. But let's say there's a new novel attack leveraged by AI. Nothing what I'm saying is new at all. So, okay. So there's a novel attack. So the government infrastructure, so let's say identification infrastructure, and let's say a large chunk of the financial infrastructure, because we're not all using Bitcoin yet. Okay, but let's say that chunk of the government is crippled. Now, militarily, they'll be able to do certain things. But I am 100% convinced that your ultimate resilience as a nation will then be maintained or should be maintained by another much more organic system, mesh, completely distributed, that effectively adopts everything that we can from the cryptocurrency frameworks and technology that uses. Also something that's governed and contributed towards completely decentralized. And I think as long as there's a border, it will not be then we're not being truthful. I think the only thing that I actually want to work towards is something that can actually be truly global. So I would like South Korea to be very much as part of such a tool mechanism for people at least to continue working together. Um, but yeah, when nations fall, NATO is going to need something to plug right in there to take up
Yeah.
all of those services. But these are not abstract things. And we've seen in Estonia how they've backed up all of everything that they have in Luxembourg. That's an old attack. That's an old way of doing things. While we're talking, there's another bunch of guys. They have a lot of time, more time than us. They have wilder work hours, and they're leveraging all technology to attack these things that we are talking about. So I've already written a white paper, probably that's 40 pages. Sorry to give that away, but I'm sorry.
I wasn't off by much when I said a 50-page white paper.
I, I also apologize, but this is about 20 years of always wanting to say that from a civilian perspective, we really need to leverage everything we have, and I know what we have, also to stabilize the world from our perspective. Because when the shit hits the fan on the other side or just up the road, we can't lose touch as a civilization, as a society. Well, it starts with a neighborhood. If we have a secondary system that we can use while something else has been crippled, like those are the nations that's going to survive. And we can look at history. So anyway, all
Yeah,
of these
yeah,
are interesting topics for me. I've
yeah,
walked around the world. I've seen the damage that can be done if we leverage technology in the wrong ways. I've also seen the good that it can do. When I walked into Malawi, there was no national IDs. When I walked out, there was national IDs and credit cards because people could identify people.
Yeah.
These technologies really needs to be leveraged, and it's becoming really critical to day-to-day life. That's why it's a bit more urgent. And
Yeah.
I also see red lights because we're tying our hands. We're free and we open all of that. But yeah, this hand is that you don't see who's holding this hand somewhere else. And I find it striking because from a civilian perspective, now I'm a civilian, I can say, listen, what you're saying is not true. Like somebody else has a share, you're based in that country. So ultimately, from a civilian perspective, we are not in control, even not as a nation often.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
these type of attacks, my words, I hope they age horribly. I honestly hope everything that I'm saying is completely wrong. I
So, okay, so
sorry.
Drummond put in there, check out the first person project because I think yeah. Anyway, I'm not quite sure how to change the world in a little bite, but I'm trying to do that with the did document or describing at least how this technology works for people. Because yeah, and then because then we get into social media channels that are out there, like AT protocol has did methods at the base of it, which would be helpful. Like to understand did methods helps you understand other things as well. Um, Drummond, do you know did ion?
Oh yeah, that's one of the oldest methods. It was pioneered at Microsoft by Daniel Buckner.
Okay. So I'm looking at some of the scripting was is some of these ideas came from ChatGPT and others was based on my knowledge. So but they said did ion does it keep a tamper evident log of all operations to be checked for legitimacy when you update the did document data?
Uh, I'm not a super expert on ion, but I'm
Okay.
80% positive the answer is yes.
Okay.
Uh, on the other hand, just so you're aware, I think it's a
And
dying method. I'm not sure.
yeah. Yeah,
No,
I've got a whole bunch of dying methods in here. Well, I mean, it's the internet. Everything I put in here is going to be dead in 2 years anyway.
no. Some of them are very healthy and will last for a very long time, and some
Okay.
are already dead. So there you go.
Okay. So I'm gonna fact check that thing. And then I had to change my script a bit after we had talked, and then I was thinking, so here's the paragraph. We're gonna verify that this is correct. Some methods, like did web or did peer, include a controller field right in the did document. But updates depend on the host infrastructure to ensure verified changes to did document changes, and these changes are just trusted to be correct.
Uh, okay, slow down. Can you read that again a little bit more slowly?
Yeah. You know what? And I'm going to put it in, I'm going to copy that paragraph, put it in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
So, so did web, did peer have a controller field, which
Yeah,
might, but I'm saying that I can't verify in the infrastructure that those changes were authorized by the controller because did web and did peer don't have records of that information in the first place.
Meaning they don't have change records.
They don't have change records and stuff, and they don't have cryptographically signed. Did web VH does, because I was trying to fix.
all right. I'm just my suggestion is that it's it could be clearer about that. In other words, to just simply say, but these methods do not keep any history, or do not define a verifiable history of changes to the did document. So the uh,
Yep.
each version must be considered authoritative I don't know how else to put that. It's the lack of the history, verifiable history. That's why I think WebVH got a good, it's a much better name than it used to have.
Yeah, because okay. But these methods do not define a variable history of changes to the did document updates.
Yes.
Therefore,
Trust must be in the therefore there must be trust in the direct trust in the controller. I'll put it that way. I don't know how else to put it.
yeah, well, there must be direct trust that the infrastructure operator
Or direct trust in the infrastructure operator, period.
yeah, okay.
Including
Yeah.
the resolver of the did.
Yeah, well, but that's always true of any did method.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And then I'm gonna pull up, I've got my then the slide deck. So I'm about, because this control of the did document data, I think is one of the more important scripts for bite-sized trust. Can you see the slide?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not getting the box normally tells me what I'm sharing. So I've got what a did is, did web don't provide verifiable proof of updates. Did Alice really update the latest key? Did Alice authorize key rotation? Now I've
That's
got
good.
did documents are on ledgers or under ledger control. The did updates are controlled by ledger governance. And you
That's
check the ledger for verifiable proof of updates. IPFS, that's the verification comes from the math because the did document itself is the verifiable address.
wait, back up one.
Yeah.
But what does that do about changes?
You can't change a did IPFS.
Well, I think it should. You might say, um, yeah, it just doesn't in the graphic. It doesn't say anything about IPFS or that this is this kind
Okay.
of document isn't changeable. They're static.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's true of some did methods, only support static did documents.
Yeah. Because then I have here as well. So in the script, it talks about did key and did JWK are a did document that's just derived directly from the key.
Well, isn't what you're getting after self-certifying identifiers?
No, I don't have self-certifying. I have self-certifying identifiers in another script.
Okay, but
Because
what's the difference between a did document derived from a public key and a self-certifying identifier?
yeah. So are you saying, so Drummond, would you say that did key is a self-certifying identifier?
Yes, it's a
Did key is a
self-certifying
did.
identifier that doesn't support any rotation.
That doesn't support rotation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to, I have a separate video about self-certifying identifiers. So
Right.
I don't want to conflate too many topics in one.
No, but I'm just suggesting that when it comes to this class of DIDs, you might just say DIDs can be derived from the public key
Oh
or
yeah. Okay, yeah. So
the
find
document.
static methods like did key or did JW key don't allow updates at all. The did, the public key, and the derived did document are locked together forever.
That's good. That's good.
Okay. And then I say did web VH, did ion, did WebS keep tamper evident logs of all operations which can be checked for legitimacy. So that's this guy.
Yeah, although that piece of the script, just my personal advice would be to drop did ion and include did skid.
Oh, did skid as well?
Yeah,
Okay, but did skid, um, did skid itself is not a did method, is it? Because
did method. It,
it's a
it
full did method, but
did
how,
method that uses
huh?
other self-certifying identifier formats.
Okay, and but it's like a conformance program for other did methods that if you meet these criteria, you are considered a did skid, or it's a completely separate did method.
It is a separate did method
Okay,
for which it has a set of defined formats. And those formats
okay,
are generally other did methods. So far, they're all other did methods. They don't have
right.
to be native, but it's designed that way. So some people are calling it a meta method, but it's up to you. It's just if you want to keep it simple, I'm not sure I'd include did ion. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I took did ion out here now. And then at
But
the
did
yep.
carry also does that, by the way.
Okay, so did carry. I've been sometimes saying did carry and sometimes saying did WebS, but I guess WebS is a subset of did carry.
Oh, no, did WebApps would be better to include. But in other words, if you're going to include
Yeah.
the other, did WebApps on the list that you showed?
Okay, so I've got did skid, did WebVH, and did WebS keep tamper evident logs. For
Yeah,
example.
I put did skid third though because the first two are yeah, I do.
Okay.
Did WebVH, did WebApps, and did skid.
So
Okay.
did skid is really a did overlay / extension to existing to put in some additional behavior. Is that a reasonable
Yes,
statement?
yeah.
Okay. And then so the last one, static methods like did key. And then I do need a final slide for the bottom line. You could just trust a did document, but to be sure updates are legitimate, you should also verify the cryptographic evidence with the cryptographic evidence each did method provides, whether that's a signature, a blockchain record, a hash commitment, or a witness log. Some did methods make this information available, but some do not. Or
Wow,
maybe
that's really good.
so, but maybe instead of, it's not a witness log, a
No,
signature, a blockchain record, a hash commitment, or a verifiable log.
yeah, verifiable log. A witness log is, well,
It's more duplicity than,
duplicity detection. You're right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That's why choosing the right DID method matters. It determines not only how your identity is managed, but also how others can trust that it hasn't been tampered with.
Your
All DID methods.
identifier is managed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to include no matter what, all DID methods still produce the same DID document. Scott left us, but so yeah, I need to go as well. It's 11 o'clock.
All the
Scott.
methods still produce a did document. It's just a little deceiving to say the same did
Oh
document.
yeah. The same. Well, yeah, okay. Um uh, uh
Output of all did methods is a conformant did document.
yeah, okay, conformant.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it must be a conformant did document or else
Right,
it's
or it's not the DID specification. Because Scott was pointing out, he was like, the videos are pointing out that it's still the Wild West when it comes to DIDs.
some people have that point of view, and I have to be okay. Well, then what you want is to engage with an ecosystem that tames that Wild West. It's civilization. What can you say?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
kids
and
are,
I, yeah,
and we want to make sure that guns are in safe people's hands.
and that's why diff has DIF is doing their certification because they
methods
have a
working
whole
group.
list, their checklist of features.
The
Yeah.
DID methods working group, man, it is very comprehensive. I know because we're gonna take did skid through the process, and I've been looking at it and going, oh wow, it's gonna take quite a bit of work.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the funnel because I'm pointing out all the limitations of different did methods here in the
Yes.
bite-sized trust, which helps you understand then you're like, where do I check it? Well, there. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
We're at time. Gotta go
Yeah.
to the
Thank you very much.
Hey,
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Work
Adrian,
on that.
check out first person. Oh, he's gone. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Bye.
Bye,
Yeah.
guys.
somewhere. Hope it was useful. Have a nice day.
Okay. Thanks.
And
Bye.
sorry, can I just ask a quick question? Just 1 second. What did I jump into? Just from a side again. Sorry, I was looking at interesting sessions on LinkedIn, and I sort of got carried away today. So I've not been briefed. I've not briefed myself. Sorry.
Yeah, okay,
Um,
so Trust over IP is a Linux Foundation decentralized trust group. And the members are motivated by the similar kinds of things that you were talking about. And as part, we're not writing code, but we are doing white papers and specifications. And I was like, well, how would I contribute? And I'm making just educational content, which is explaining like the basics of the background. So one can then get into deeper conversations about how does one realize the points that you were talking.
That's awesome. So it sounds like I'm very much aligned with everything that you just said. Now I just want to understand so are you, is this an organization? Is this a company? Is this
Yeah,
is this more of a
it's
study?
it's an organization within the Linux Foundation.
Okay. And it's
So
in
it's
America, it's worldwide, it's global.
global,
Okay.
open standards, open source. We have a charter, we have membership. So you need to, you came in later when we talked, because at the beginning, then we talked about antitrust because we are under that regulation. So that means that members who participate in meetings need to sign the antitrust because we're not supposed to come into a meeting and collude.
Good.
And also that the contributions that we make to the group, we are freely licensed to make those contributions. So that would be the membership information.
It
So
sounds fascinating and really, really interesting. And I potentially might have a lot of things that I could help with, a lot of angles that I can give. I might have done a whole lot of work. I've written articles that I never published on LinkedIn purely because I have never done this type of engagement. Basically,
yeah,
I've been contacted so out of the world when large corporations acquire each other and buy each other, yeah, all of those type of things. And also, I still get phoned by teams around the world that effectively delivers elections and ID systems and things like that. So I'm very much
yeah,
in touch. For, even though unofficially, I'm working for myself and
yeah,
keeping myself busy. But this is a very big interest to me because I'm not sure if we're really going full circle with everything that we're talking about and how important this really is. Because without our digital identities and the frameworks and the tools and the mechanisms, our life collapse because we're dependent on this
yeah,
technology.
yeah, yeah,
Gatekeeper. It is the gatekeeper. Now, the gatekeeper of technology is that's quite an important role. So anyway, I
yeah.
would
So
love to talk further.
I'm gonna
Another
give
time.
you I'm gonna put in the link quickly. So this is what we are under.
Okay.
There are other projects like Indie and Aries and stuff which are working on decentralized identity systems and stuff.
Right.
And then so trust over IP is within this. And
Okay.
then what you do is you email them in order to become a member.
Okay. can you give me homework, please? Sorry, that was not
Yeah,
what I
yeah, yeah.
was.
Read
Please
the,
give me homework. It sounds like I'm always worried about gaps in your periphery, and that's sometimes the most dangerous thing. So if you can shine a few lights or lasers onto what I need to look at, that would
yeah.
be
So this is trust over IP.
got it.
And then in participate, I think there's the signing up as a contributor.
Yeah.
Okay, so here is, and I haven't gone through all of this in a long time. And
It's
then,
okay.
and then the
Uh,
people,
I'm copying all of the links out just so that I have
yeah,
it, so that
yeah.
you don't lose touch.
And
Okay.
the people to talk to. So I would say that like people are quite interested in trust over IP, but the people who are able to make things work have gone off, and the people that are the most revitalized part of trust over IP is the first person project. And Drummond is very much a leader of trust over IP and all of the talking and thinking that you're talking about.
Does
And
that cover the physical, the actual network and the technology, the actual stuff as well, right? Because there's an
yeah,
architectural level almost, and there's almost like a software architectural, but then there's somewhere it hit the rubber hits the road where it's like, okay, so we have a network, a mesh network, we have a cell phone backbone, and we have an outer space that's the layers or something like that. It's all
yeah.
hosted by donors or people hosted themselves. There's a whole lot of things, but does it cover all of that?
Sir, because don't, we're not coding.
Sure. But so I didn't want to jump in earlier. So I've looked at this entire thing and the contribution that I'm researching for myself, and really,
Yep,
I'm not talking to too many people because it's a bit like sensitive stuff. The thing
yep,
is, we need a very clear architecture. So that's how I'm looking at it.
yep,
Clear architecture that's grounded. You mentioned earlier charter. It's almost like morals. It's so charter is good, but it needs
yep,
to be effectively aligned worldwide. So it needs to be that foundational and that basic. And there's a
yep,
whole lot of things that I then adopted out of the natural world because, an experiment that's been ongoing for a bit longer than we're living. So I'm learning a lot of things as well, even now. So I've adopted all of that into my thinking because what we need to do, I think, is come up with the architecture. We know what technology is available. We know what has been built, what we know what has been tested. So effectively, we need a few people. There's a lot of people that talk like this to say, listen, we're willing to sign this. We understand this is what we need. We can contribute this. And if we can plug in
yeah,
the 12 or the 20 pieces, like I also have a model, I've created a type of model to make, so I've deployed stuff in the world where it effectively spreads like a very, very, very good virus. But the thing is, when I tip the first domino, the next 7,000 dominoes must be ready. And there's a way to go big bang on something like this to really give that second layer of resilience. And effectively, it would be unstoppable. But that's very dangerous territory because we want to achieve the right thing and create resilience, but not create something that can go wrong. So it's really
yeah.
important stuff. And I'm not talking, I don't want to talk about theoretical stuff, but I'm a very, very practical person. So
So check out the Governance Architecture Task Force. That's a later, I don't attend that one because it's right in the middle of dinner time and I've got a family and stuff. But I like always
important.
cover, yeah. So, so we have, that's, uh, John and Joe, are often leading in that.
Okay.
And, so let me write, because if you join, then you can also be in the Discord.
Yeah, that would be cool because I would like to get a bit more involved. I might have to jump on a treadmill at a certain speed, but it's okay. I'm a good runner. There's all of this. I might miss a term or something, but I understand deep what we're talking about and what you're already discussing as well.
So what you're talking about like there's not everybody is really busy. So there's
Yeah.
not like this huge amount of productivity. There's very interesting conversations. What you're talking about, I would be very interested in following. That like because that's in part what I wanted to be able to do, to say what would be some kind of more global infrastructure,
Yeah, the
right?
key, I think the key is the architecture. So once you unlock the architecture, then it's done. Because
Yeah,
whoever, if you have a very clear set of rules, and a very clear thing that can organically, like nature happen, like there's a lot of things that we've, like I've discovered like some crazy, I've had some insights over the last while. I've had a lot of time.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
Because a white paper coming out of so I would say I'm going to write into the governance architecture. If you can make that meeting, which is less an offensive time in Europe, um,
when is that?
it's so I put it's October 1st, Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST.
Oh, let me click it. I
Um,
didn't save the link, but okay, okay, yeah. I'll try and attend that. That's Thursday, 2nd of October.
because I bet if you came there with a pitch, that
Okay.
might be a good that working group, it redid the trust over IP architecture, and I don't know where they've been lately,
Yeah.
but a global architecture plan of decentralized technologies and the parts that you need and stuff would be a very interesting contribution, and that would be a very nice home.
If we don't, so if we don't do this very soon, like, it's a bit of a problem. I mean, you understand? Like, no, but I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, I know, but I can't. I mean, and the money that you're up against, and the power
Yeah,
that you're up against is just
the architecture. So, but that's why it matters. The
yeah, yeah,
architecture
yeah.
very much matters. And one of the really interesting, where it really gets interesting, is the interaction and the benefit to government. So it needs to immediately plug into that as a secondary system. So the benefits needs to be immediate, and everything is governed by all the laws and everything. So all of that needs to be in place. Again, when it is, it's in place. And if everybody's okay and getting a benefit from it, then it's really people are controlling their stuff. And if I want to monetize some of my, so I've given us a lot of thought. So if I want to monetize certain of my data, which is being monetized right now,
Right, yeah.
I decide to make monetize, like it
And
can be
there's lots of
monetized.
people working on little bits like of this. Okay, so so I have put governance architecture. I'm going to figure out how to share Linux Foundation. Um,
But maybe also for me,
this is,
just to, I'm available. I mean, if you just want to interview and ask me, I mean, whatever, I
yeah,
love to talk about these things because I really think it's really important. Also, so I have said, I don't want to say echo chambers, but my network even is an echo chamber. I talk to obviously a few, not a lot of people, but a few
yeah,
people.
yeah,
But an
yeah,
echo chamber is a dangerous thing when you're working on a
yeah,
global solution.
yeah,
So I would love to hear a little bit, but
yeah,
I think there's a lot that
yeah,
I
yeah.
can contribute.
Yeah,
Also, man,
I think the governance architecture would be a really cool home.
cool.
And there's people in that I mean, I'm sad it's in the middle of dinner time because it's a fantastic group of people and a great discussion all the time. So I gave the Discord. You need to join Trust Over IP so that we have the documentation, so that we know that the things that you are contributing, you are freely able to contribute.
Yeah, yeah,
So
of
have a look
course.
at that. And then I wrote in the chat for this channel for governance architecture that you might be showing up this week, and that might if people were thinking about giving it a pass, now they might not. So yeah, very cool. It'd be great to have you on board.
Yeah, so I'll prepare a quick so like a quick brief for that. So if they say yes, we go forward, I'll make sure that I've got something on the ready that's a bit more easier to absorb. Because it is
Yeah,
massive and it's easy to get sidetracked. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
yeah. Awesome.
Nice
Awesome. Fantastic. Great. Thank you so much.
meeting
Bye.
you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thanks. See ya.